Happy Tuesday morning, everyone. It has been a cold weekend for us. I don't know about you, but we got a snowstorm, I guess. We got probably 3 inches, maybe a little bit more of snow over the weekend. And so this weekend I am preparing some cozy winter meals, and I thought I would bring you along for it. So usually I am preparing a lot of meat for my family. I recently tried the carnivore diet and lost a little bit of weight, and it was successful, but it wasn't sustainable for my family. And so while we are not 100% carnivore, we do eat a lot of meat in my house. And so I had just baked some chicken and took and put the broth that it had made over into the crock pot, where I am cooking down some chicken bones to make some broth for a meal later in the afternoon. And so here you can see I took and put, what I do is every time I cut an onion up, every time I cut a bell pepper up, any vegetable really that I am prepping, I will cut the ends off and I will put them in a Ziploc bag. If they're not nasty looking, I'll put them in a Ziploc bag and I will freeze them for another day. And whenever I go to the grocery store, which is on Fridays, I will grab a rotisserie chicken from the store, and I will, after we're done eating it, I will freeze the carcass and save it for another day, and I will cook them down and make a broth. And that's what I'm doing here. It is actually Friday whenever I started this video. Doug didn't have to go to work today. He is a truck driver and he loads and unloads over in Brownsville, Tennessee and Sykeston and places like that. And if the people are not working, then he's not working. And so they closed down the company for the weekend because of the snow, and so he didn't have to go to work, and so he's here helping me with the kids while I prepare some meals for the weekend. This crock pot here, whenever I start this is a long process. So I will put everything in usually early in the morning, and I will cook it down for a few hours and then start skimming the top of the liquid off and putting it in mason jars, and I will add more water to it and just keep the rotation going all day. Every 3-4 hours I will add more. I will take liquid out and add more liquid in. And so this is like a 2-day process, because I can stick it in the crock pot and it won't burn. As long as there's fluid in there, it will not burn. And so I cook it down for like a 2-day minimum usually. And so that's what I'm doing here. As you can see, I've got I think they're quart size mason jars, and I stir it up and I skim the top, and then I'll add some more liquid in whenever I'm done. And as you can see, the broth is super dark, and that's because I've got 2 chicken carcasses in there, and then I have some extra bones here and there that I add to the bag, plus I got a whole bag of vegetable ends that I put down in the bottom. So we've got a really rich broth. I have not put any seasoning into this broth, and I don't usually add seasoning until I'm ready to cook. but I put it in mason jars because for me that's the easiest way to store. And if I've got 1 gallon Ziploc bags, then I will put them in the Ziploc bags once it's cooled down, and I will freeze it flat, and that's how I've been doing it. But I recently got a pressure canner for Christmas by my wonderful husband, and so I'm going to attempt to pressure can this, and I didn't get any video content of me pressure canning this, but I did pressure can 6 quarts of chicken broth after I made my meal for that night. I did pressure can 6 quarts, and 4 out of 6 quarts sealed. I ended up pitching the other 2 quarts because they had sat and I didn't want to attempt to try to use it. They had sat out of the fridge, and I was afraid that they had gone rancid because they were not sealed, and so I just pitched them just to be on the safe side. Here in this clip, I am working on some breakfast sandwiches. Usually I will take this sausage and I will cut it into patties and cook it and eat it that way. But I am trying to be frugal and make my food go as far as possible. In 2024, we did a lot of mostly meat shopping with other stuff on the side, and we were running about $200 a week on groceries. And so I am, in the year 2025, I am going to be as frugal as possible. And so here I have got some double yolk eggs that somebody graciously gave us, and I am going to add those eggs. I scrambled them, added a little bit of milk and salt. I didn't have any pepper on hand, or I would have put pepper in them. And I'm going to add it into the sausage and to make it go further, as you can see here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some biscuit dough. And if you don't know how to make some biscuit dough, I will put it down in the description box down below how I make my biscuits. They come out beautiful every time. And so I'm going to take a stick of butter and I'm going to shave it about half of a stick. I'm going to shave about half of a stick, and I'm going to put that in my biscuit dough. Why do I shave it like I'm doing here? Or grate it, I guess is the right word. But I'm grating it because it blends into my biscuits better. Usually I dice it up and I'll put it in there and whatever, but I want it to be distributed as evenly as possible. And so I'm grating it on my cheese grater, and I'm going to add it into my biscuits. It's days like this, whenever I am meal prepping, that I'm very, very grateful for being gifted a KitchenAid a couple years ago. It has come in handy so much. It's kind of clunky on my counter, and so I have to pack it away whenever I'm not using it, but it has come in handy so very much. And so here I am making the biscuit dough, and what I'm going to do, and I attempted to use cupcake, like a cupcake pan, and what I want to do is I want to put the egg and sausage mixture into the biscuit and bake it. And I ended up putting some gravy in there too because I thought it would be good. It's kind of like the all-in-one breakfast, you know. And so I put the egg and sausage mixture in it, plus added a scoop of gravy into it, and then I put it in that cupcake pan and tried to close it up, and it just was too clunky, too messy. Whenever the biscuits was done, it was too much biscuit for the mixture in the middle. So I changed my plan after making one batch of those. I changed my plan and cut out a circle of biscuit dough, and I put the mixture into the circle, and then I just folded the circle in half and pinched the ends, and so you have like a half circle, and then the mixture is in the middle, and the biscuit dough and everything turned out perfect. Actually, my whole family absolutely loved them. I didn't even know that my kids would actually eat them, but my daughter absolutely loves them. Doug is kind of picky when it comes to that kind of stuff, especially whenever he has to take it with him on the road, and so he even liked them. He was very impressed. He really liked them, and so this was kind of a hit for us, and I will be making them more in the future because it made, I can't remember exactly how many it made, but I had a 1 gallon ice cream tub overflowing with them, so it made quite a few, and I'll be able to freeze them for a later date. And so I was really excited, and so we will be making those in the future too. Something I did with these muffin tins is after I pinched the dough together to close it all up, I flipped them over in hopes that it would keep them closed up and they wouldn't bloom back open. And they did. They stayed closed. I ended up cooking them on 400 for about 20 to 25 minutes. You'll just have to go by what your oven, the rate of your oven and how it cooks. I started out with a 15-minute timer, and then it ended up being about 20 to 25 minutes. And my baby boy was a little cranky, so we had to split a muffin together, and he really enjoyed it. He's not very picky. He eats just about anything. So here, I can't remember how long I cooked all of this down. I know that I didn't go for as long as I could have because my broth was still pretty dark at the end here, but I ended up calling it a day and just going with draining it because it had been a long day and I was just tired of everything. Now I strained it with a large strainer, and before I go to put it on the stove to make the meal that I wanted, I'll take and put it through a fine mesh just strainer so that there isn't any particles of like bell pepper seeds or whatever it is. I don't want little seeds in my broth, and so I'll strain it through a fine mesh strainer. And as you can see here, I am making dumplings. I'm making chicken and dumplings. It's one of my husband's favorite meals, and it is one of those meals that I can make it and it'll last a few days. The recipes that I am making in this video, that's nothing new. I'm not coming up with anything fabulous. All I'm trying to do is make meals that will last us a little while so that we don't go through as much, or at least it doesn't seem like we are going through as much. So I don't know, I usually use a couple cups of flour, and I will season my flour with salt and pepper. I don't put any other seasonings in my flour because I will use my broth that I cook down that's very, very flavorful, and I'll use that instead of water to form the dough. And I have seen people take and put eggs in their dough. I have seen them put turmeric, numerous things, and it doesn't matter. It's whatever your family likes, and my family prefers just kind of a basic dough with salt and pepper, and then the broth for the liquid to form the dough. But yeah. Here you'll find that I am cutting up some chicken. I had cooked some chicken earlier in the week. It's just leg quarters, just a bunch of dark meat, and I don't want it to go bad. I want to try to save everything I can, and so I am just cutting up some leftover chicken that I had in the fridge so that it doesn't go bad and we end up using it. I mean, it was just a bunch of scraps from the leg quarters, it's not anything major, but every little bit counts in my house.